So today I'm going to talk about some of the mixers I have. I ran a wholesale macaron business for more than 5 years, and when you're doing a variety of tasks, it's necessary to have a lot of mixers. I just want to go over the models of mixers that I have. Obviously, I don't have all the mixers, so I can't do a review of best mixer, but I can review some of the interesting pros and cons of the ones I do have, and hopefully that will help you if you are on the market for a mixer or if you are considering adding another one to your collection. I started baking when I was around 18. That was a while ago, and I started with a Kitchenaid Classic. It was a white model. I got it for $100 on Amazon, and it was the first thing I got with my paycheck from my job, and I was so proud of it. It seems crazy to think that I got a mixer for $100, but I really did on Amazon. It lasted me about 10 years before the motor kind of broke. So I do miss it, RIP, but they do last a long time. So I don't see a lot of classics being used right now. This one here is an Artisan. It is a 325 max watt mixer. It is called a Kitchenaid Artisan, and all my mixers are Kitchenaid except for one that I have a planetary mixer that is a little bit larger, and I will show you that here in a little bit. So this mixer is pretty standard for most kitchens, and it goes well with usually any recipe that you see for baking. It is a tilt head mixer, and there are a few quirks to this mixer that I will go over. So the tilt head is different from a lift type of mixer. This goes up and down here, and this one thing that I would say here is that if you're making something tough like bread dough and it takes a lot of force to push this bowl in that direction, so this is how the bowl goes in and out. It kind of clasps on here, and then you can twist it. So if your dough or whatever you're mixing in here is really tough, and you keep kind of putting pressure on this the other way, at some point it's going to be really tight. So to undo that, it takes a little bit of force. There are bowls that don't have this handle, so if you have one of those, it gets really tough to undo that. Just be aware. For sanitary kind of stuff, there is a lot of little nooks and crannies in this one. For example, if you put a little bit of water here or you spill here, it can kind of get stuck in the little crevices here. So that's a little bit annoying for me. So with this Artisan, my number one gripe is going to be this little knob here. And when you run this mixer, this little rod starts to come out, and it will pretty much stick out maybe 2 inches at some point if you're not careful. You can kind of push it in. I've actually tried to super glue it, and this rod is pushed out with the motion of the mixer, so it didn't help at all. So you just have to be aware. If this comes out, this is what's holding the tilt head in place, and so your whole head here can come off. So just be aware that if you're mixing something and it's really tough, or if you just run it for a few times, just keep an eye on this little rod here. The other issue I have with this mixer is this area here. The place where it attaches to this tilt head motor is not that, I don't want to say level, but I've had a lot of issues with when I attach something here. If I attach this whisk here, if If this is not at a good level, then your attachment is going to either scrape the bottom too much or too little. So I know that, you know, there's ways of adjusting it by adjusting these screws here. Sometimes that's a little tricky and sometimes not enough and it doesn't work quite well. What I've resorted to doing, and this was the same for my classic too, which was a tilt head mixer. What I've resorted to doing is putting a Post-it, like a folded up Post-it or some paper towel, something in here just to manually adjust it. As if you would put something under like a wobbly table. I just put something here and that will manually adjust. Because if you're using, say, a little bit of egg whites and this beater doesn't go all the way to the bottom, you're just going to be whisking air for a really long time. If your beater doesn't touch the bottom, your cookie dough, you could have crumbs on the bottom. It's just, in baking, uniformity is very important, and that can be an issue for you if you're just not grabbing stuff from the bottom. So the other way it could go, if it touches too much, then it just scrapes, make a rattling noise, and it can really start to damage your attachments. So these are some of the other attachments that I have for this model. Usually it comes with something like this, a metal whisk attachment, a coated dough hook, and something like this, which is a paddle attachment. This is usually made for aerating things like meringues, cream, things like that. This is usually used for any kind of bread dough, and this is the standard for most cookies, cakes, things like that. The paddle attachment that usually comes with this model is coated like this, from what I have experienced. I'm not that fond of this type of coating on these attachments because they start to peel off, and it doesn't take a long time for them to start doing that, and it doesn't take a lot of uses. It is cheaper usually to get this type, but what I would suggest is buying something that is more like this, which is metal and doesn't have this coating scraping off. So this edge here on this beater attachment helps to scrape the side of the mixer bowl. However, this looks metal-esque, but this is actually the same type of coating as this one. It's just a gray color. So you can see here, well, actually, I don't know if you can see here, but it starts to scrape off here on the bottom. And basically that goes into your food. Not something I'm happy with. I don't really want to be eating whatever coating that is. So that makes me a little queasy. I start to replace these pretty quickly after they start peeling. But, you know, sometimes they're hard to find not coated. Comparing this Artisan to something like this, which is a Professional 5 Plus, or something like this is just 6 quart tilt head model, I would say that there is a difference in the, I don't know how to explain this, but there is a difference in the amount of rotation per minute or so. For example, this seems to have a smaller circumference or smaller area of rotation. Like it makes, for example, in the time it takes this to make 5 rotations, this will have gone maybe 7 or 8. I noticed that because when I do meringues and I'm running them at the same, let's say, speed, like if I run them both at the speed 4, this will be way ahead of this, just because it's really kind of going much faster than this is. So you can think of this as somebody whisking it kind of slow, and this is somebody who is kind of on doing this. It's not a deal breaker. It's just something to be aware of. If you have both and you're trying to make a recipe using 2 of them, you'll notice there is some difference in performance. You just need to give this one time to catch up. But again, if a recipe says, you know, mix on speed 6, do note that speed 6 on here is a little different from speed 6 on here or here. Let me just show you a couple more accessories for this artisan. This is typically the bowl that it comes with. It has no handles. I recommend that you at least have 2 bowls if you do a lot of baking. And I like to get the ones with the handles. It just gives a little bit of extra leverage. Unscrew this here. So metal bowls are really good, easy to clean. They are harder to break than something like this guy. It is a little bit more fun to look at. You can see stuff going on. It's great for demonstrations, things like that. However, this is a little bit more fragile. If you bump it the wrong way, it can break. It is more expensive also, and a little bit more heavy. There's a little bit more heft to that. So I would also be careful here. I think this is tempered glass. However, I would be very careful pouring in something like a hot syrup, something that can cause very quick temperature changes in the glass, because tempered glass can still break. And with something like this, that's how usually it breaks. So just very quick, sudden temperature changes is how glass tends to break. I would stay away from using this for hot syrup, making meringues with hot syrup, marshmallows, things like that. I would use a metal bowl. Okay, last on this one, I'm just gonna show you how loud it is. If anybody just is curious to hear it. Mixers are generally pretty loud. They're not annoyingly loud, but they're pretty loud. So we're just gonna run this here for a few minutes so you can hear it. So the tilt head goes up and down. You put on your bowl, and there is a lock here. If you have something like a bread dough that really requires a lot of strength, this will start to kind of wobble, so you can lock it here. And this is a 10 speed, which means there's 10 different speeds you can choose from to run this. So that's a level 2. So you can actually hear the clanging that is made because this, whatever Post-it I put here has shrunken. So that noise is actually the clattering of the wire hitting this bowl. That's not ideal, so I'm just going to adjust this real quick. So you can do this however you want. I just like to use little Post-its and I fold them. I'm sure Kitchenaid has a better solution for this, but this has worked so far for me. So when in a pinch, okay. So I usually put in a little bit, see how that adjusts, and that is too much. You can tell it's too high when this attachment doesn't reach the bottom at all. That's not what you want. You want it just at level with the bottom. So I'm gonna run it again. That looks like a good, there we go. So you can kind of tell the difference between what it was before when the whisk was hitting the bottom, and now it's slightly elevated. It's barely hitting the bottom, and it's a lot less annoying. So that's a level 2. That's a 6. And that's a 10. So that's high speed. Okay, let's talk about these lift head mixers. I have here a Professional 5 Plus, and what is this called? This has no name on it. It's a 6-quart Kitchenaid lift mixer. This is 590 watts, and this is 525. So this is a little bit more powerful and holds more in the bowl. So first of all, I love this color, and kind of got tricked into buying this one for the color. If I had a choice again between getting this model and getting 2 of these, I would probably pick another one of these. But let me just show you what is going on with this one. So on all of these lift type models, there's this little latch here that is screwed on. This tends to generally come unscrewed. So just be aware, sometimes you have to take a screwdriver here and get it back. Also with this model, you notice that here you have like a little knob. This one doesn't, and it kind of annoys me a little bit more than I would like to admit, because this is not that much coverage, and it's also, it's not very ergonomic. And it kind of feels, I don't know, cheap? Yeah. The accessories that come with it, pretty standard, something like this. I think this is something that I replaced, that I purchased separately, but it is the correct size for this model. And then another coated type of dough hook. Again, the coatings tend to come off. You can see it peeling here. When you start seeing a lot of peeling, it is good to replace them. The bowl that it comes with is metal. I have not seen a glass bowl for these types of mixers. And if you think about the construction of it, you can see why. They kind of hook onto here and latch onto here. I don't know how that a glass bowl would have those attachments and be safe. There is a little bit of a maneuver to getting these on here, so you need to be able to get these round holes here on both sides. So, and then you push it on the back to do that. So that's a little bit of an effort. It's a little bit, it's fine if your bowl is empty, but let's say you've got stuff in it and you're trying to do it, there's a chance it splashes back, things like that. Just be aware. I think it requires a little bit more effort than it should. And then to undo it, and then to remove the bowl, you do the reverse. So lift from the back. No, lift from the front. So that's a little bit of effort there. The other thing I want to say is that this bowl that comes with it, I haven't seen that many replacement bowls for these that are that much better. So what I was saying is, if you feel this bowl, this feels very thin. This handle here, it kind of feels a little bit uncomfortable. It feels unfinished. It feels like somebody stopped making it and they went to lunch. Same here. It feels kind of, out of all the bowls here, this feels the cheapest. I don't know if it's in my head. I feel kind of uncomfortable working with it. It feels flimsy to me for how much it is. I think I bought this one for $330-ish, and I think it was on sale. I don't remember how much my Artisan was. I think this one was $400. I feel like this one was a Costco purchase. This was a Target purchase. The good thing about this one is that you don't really have to adjust too much on this. The Artisan, you have to adjust the head because the levels, I've really not run into that problem with these types. It's pretty consistent on the level it goes to on your bowl. So you don't really have to worry about that, which is a plus for me. Here's a level 2. That's a level 6. And that's a 10. These models are a little bit easier to clean just because it doesn't have that hole on the bottom where things, you know, flour drops, water drops. Now you have a paste. Now you have something that's like Play-Doh that's stuck on there. It's really hard to get off. If you drop oil in there, now it's an oily bowl of soup. With these, a little bit easier because it's everything's smooth down here. However, there's a lot of stuff that gets stuck here. If you have flour falling off your bowl, it will get stuck here, and that is not an easy place to clean right inside this here. But like I said, this is unscrewable, and once in a while this comes loose. You can just unscrew it and clean inside and put it back in. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I would say probably these are easier, slightly easier to clean than the other one, than the Artisan. All these models, all Kitchenaids come with these. It's probably real dusty. And this is for your attachments. So if you buy an attachment such as sifters or dicers or pasta makers, which I have a lot of, by the way, and if you want to see them, I can show them to you. But they go here, and that's actually a real, for me, that's a plus of having a KitchenAid, is that they have so many accessories that can go on here that is really useful just in baking and also in cooking. So I'm a fan of this. So I'm going to show you my last KitchenAid here. It is a 6-quart lift style KitchenAid, 590 watts of power, and this is pretty much my workhorse if I'm making something in the kitchen that is not a standard recipe size. So let's say I want to make cupcakes for a crowd, or I want to double, triple my recipes. This is generally where I go, and it is it's a pretty good model. The accessories, pretty standard as the other ones. You get a whisk. I don't know where my dough hook is, but it's pretty much the same, a beater. The real difference between this and the Professional 5 Plus is, again, the size. So you get a quart more in space and a little bit of a better motor, a little bit more power, which means less burnout and less stress on your machine. I'm really happy with the way the bowl is constructed on this one. If you look at the handle, it's way more ergonomic and well designed than the other one, and it feels a little bit like they used thicker metal, so a little bit sturdier. The lift action is pretty much the same as the other one. It's here on the sides, and then you push. So still a little bit of effort, but I like this one because it also has this little knob here that kind of rolls with you. Makes it way less hard on your hand when you're doing this. Okay, and then this is how it sounds. This is a 2. 4. These are all pretty much around the same noise level. Unless you have them all working at once, it's pretty doable. This is not a sponsored post by KitchenAid. I just happen to like KitchenAid mixers and happen to have worked with them for a very long time. So I just kind of have my own little opinions about the ones that I have. I would say that this is pretty standard. The 5-quart Artisan tilt-head mixer. If you generally do home baking for fun, for friends and family, it should serve you pretty well. I would say at least 10 years. If you are a professional baker that makes wedding cakes, things like that, maybe not at a huge bulk level, but you need something that holds a little bit more in quantity than this, I would suggest the 6-quart Kitchenaid model. It doesn't come in as many colors as this guy here, which is a bummer. I think this, when I bought it, was offered in maybe 3 colors, but this is a better quality in design, in motor, just in general. I think bang for your buck. I think this would have been my first choice. So if I could go back, I probably would get another one of these, but this color is so pretty. And there is something to be said for that. If you don't use your mixer very much, but you just want something pretty in your kitchen, these are certainly somewhat decorative, I would say. So I hope that helps. I'm just going to show you one more thing. I do have a 20-quart planetary mixer. Let me just show it to you, and maybe that will help you as well. Here is my 20-quart planetary mixer. So this is a pretty big model. You can see the size here. I have it on a stainless steel stand, which is pretty important just because this is not meant to be a floor model. However, if you decide to put it on your floor, there is some weight. This is very, very heavy, so make sure you have a mat or something just to be able to protect your floor. This is by Uniworld. I know that there's a lot of really expensive mixers that are this size. To me, this worked pretty well for what I do. However, there are some difficulties that I've had with machines like this, just to be able to show you. So one thing that you'll notice is that everything is big, and that's great because you get to make a lot quantity wise, but it is a little bit of a pain to clean, so just keep that in mind. This is what the whisk looks like, and this is what the beater looks like. It's just a flat beater. The coating on this doesn't seem to come off, so I'm really happy with that. The bowl attachment is pretty similar to the 6-quart bowl. However, the difference being that there is a little notch and a little ball type thing that is on the bowl that you just need to make sure it goes in. Sometimes if your bowl is full of heavy stuff, it's really difficult, but that's kind of how you do it. So this mixer will not operate until this is attached here. So the problem I have with that is when you're adding stuff, sometimes you basically have to get it through this grate, and that is kind of annoying because you're trying to pour flour in. Now you've got these bars trying to hold you back, and it's flying everywhere. It is a security measure. Because this motor is so powerful, they pretty much don't want you putting your hand in it while it's running, and that is very reasonable. But it is a little annoying, I would say, especially like when I'm pouring syrup in here. Now I have syrup coating all here. That's very hard to clean. This whole situation is a pain. It's hard to clean. It gets in your way. It does keep you from losing your hand though, so that's something. It takes a little bit of effort, but you go all the way up. So if this is up, this is attached, then you can press on. This is a 3-speed mixer, different from my KitchenAids, which are 10. So you basically have low, medium, and high. And I never use the high, which is a 3, because this thing, it wobbles so much that I'm afraid it's just going to fly off. So I usually just use a 1 or a 2, and then there's just an on and off button. So this lever controls what speed you want, 1, 2, or 3. It's very manual, and then you just push on or off. I'm just going to run this real quick for you on level 1, 2, and 3, just so you can hear how loud it is. So here's level 1. It's not too bad. And that's just a general stir. You can hear that the beater doesn't really touch the bottom of the bowl at all. So this has to be full to a certain amount for you to get good mixing. This is level 2. You can kind of hear that going a little bit more. It's not as many rotations per minute, I would say, as like the small artisan, just because it just has a little bit more of a distance to cover. Okay, and then so I'm gonna run it at 3 for a few minutes, but again, generally I don't use this level at all. So you see how it's kind of moving? That makes me a little bit nervous, and I have no reason to make something that on that speed at all. So in this quantity. So again, this is by Uniworld, but there's a lot of models like this. It is good to have if you're doing a lot of quantity baking, just in bulk. It is helpful. It is a lot more cleaning, and it is a lot more just general annoyingness, but it does make up for just being able to batch bake. So I do hope that was helpful for everyone. I'm just covering the variety of KitchenAid mixers that I have in my 20 quart planetary mixer. Let me know if you have any questions.